Now this has three other names. The first one is base Dow, and this is based on the scientist's name. The second one is the diffuse toxic goiter. So the word toxic here means that there is hyperthyroidism. There is something also called the diffuse non-toxic goiter, and that is not associated with hyperthyroidism. The third name is primary hyperplasia. So here you can see that there is hyperplasia. The hyperplasia is nothing but increase in the number of cells. The important characteristics of this disease are as follows. The first one is hyperthyroidism, that is increase in the hormone levels. The second one is diffuse thyroid enlargement. Then there is ophthalmopathy and dermopathy. So these two will be discussed later in clinical features. Let's move on to the etiopathogenesis. So as any other thyroid pathology, this is also very common in females when compared to males. This disease is associated with type 2 hypersensitivity reaction, and the antibodies which are involved are as follows. The first one is thyroid stimulating immunoglobulin. So this usually increases the thyroid hormone levels. The second antibody is the thyroid growth stimulating immunoglobulin. So this causes or stimulates the follicular cells and proliferates them. This disease is also associated with autoimmune etiology, just like Hashimoto's. Now the genes which are more susceptible to Graves' disease are as follows: CTLA4, PTPN22, HLA, DR3, DR4, DR5. So if there's abnormality in any of these genes, then the person is more susceptible to Graves' disease. Now let's move on to the gross specimen. So here also you will see diffuse symmetric enlargement just like Hashimoto's, but the important characteristic here is the beefy or the meaty red color, as you can see in the picture. Now let's go to the microscopy. Two important points that you have to focus here are as follows. The first one is the hyperplastic follicles. So you can see that the follicles here have increased in their size when compared to the normal follicles. The pink area, that is the colloid, is increased. There is so much hyperplasia that the follicular cells or the epithelial cells here have shown infoldings. The second important point is the scalloping of colloid. Now what is this? So if you can see in this high power image, you can see some clear white circular areas, especially a lot of them near the epithelium. Now this looks like an ice cream has been scooped out. The significance behind this is that the follicular cells have become so hyperactive that they try to scoop out the colloid which has the preformed thyroid hormones. They can release these hormones. You can see these purple color follicular cells, and around these there are some pink color vacuoles present in the margins. So these pink color vacuoles look like there is some fire spreading, and that's why these are also called as the fire flares or the fire flare appearance. And since these are present in the margin, these are called the marginal vacuoles. So this is an FNAC picture, and the stain used here is the Romanowsky stain. Let's jump on to the clinical features. So the first one is the enlarged thyroid. The second one is ophthalmopathy. So here you can see that there is lid lag or upper lid retraction, and the person looks like he's staring. Now in extreme cases, the person cannot close his eyelids, and then this leads to corneal injuries and ulcerations because there is no protection to the eyes. Now you can clearly see in the picture that there is bulging of the eyes, which is called as proptosis. Now this bulging of the eyes or the exophthalmos is based on an autoimmune origin. So the evidence is that there is a lot of lymphocytic infiltrate around the ocular muscles, and you can also see circulating autoantibodies against these muscle antigen that cross react with the thyroid microsomes. So this muscle antigen and the thyroid microsome look alike to these antibodies, and that's why these antibodies actually act against them and causes more lymphocytic infiltrate to occur. So this causes exophthalmos. Now dermatopathy. So this causes pretibal myxedema or localized myxedema. So this is because there is stimulation of the dermal fibroblasts by anti-TSH receptor antibodies, and they produce large amount of glycosaminoglycans, and this causes non-pitting edema.